Good afternoon. This is the Average Joe Real Estate Investment Show. I am your host, Chris McCullough. I'm a real estate investor, and this happens to be my show. I have two wonderful people in with us today, Derek Lovett and Drew Henson, and we're going to be going through and talking about real estate investment. So, good afternoon, fellas. How are you?
Great. Doing great.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome. No, I'm glad you guys actually came. I think this is a very exciting opportunity. I know one of the big things we really want to focus on with this show is talking about a lot of the truth in real estate investing. And for those of us that are actually in this business, we realize that A, we all have a story. B, most of us are really average Joes. I think a lot of people out there watch a lot of TV. Right? Not going to say what TV shows, but they watch a lot of TV and they think real estate investing, oh, they must have showed up with a bunch of money and that's why they do this. The reality is most of us are just average guys. If you didn't even know, and girls, excuse me, but if you didn't know, you wouldn't know that this is what they do. So I kind of want to roll right into talking about that. So Derek, I mean, how did you get into real estate investing? I know when you and I first met, you were retired. So what brought you into this?
I'm still retired, Chris. I'm kind of a slacker, but I'm a type A slacker, so I really needed something else to do. And I also wanted to diversify our investments. We have a lot of stocks, bonds, commodities, and things like that.
Right.
But the returns on those are rather limited, and I felt that in a real estate environment, my returns could be better than I was getting in my normal investments, in my other investments.
Right. Okay. So before you actually started doing this, you already had some investments, but did you have a full-time job before you officially retired, or did you do it all with investing?
Oh, no. I was in the aerospace industry I worked defense and aerospace for 40 years before I retired.
40 years.
Yeah.
And then while you were doing that, you were investing in stocks, bonds, things like that.
Yes. In the company 401k, in investment clubs in the 90s. Remember the .com boom going there? And we were in investment clubs then. So I learned quite a bit. And my MBA was focused on an investing curriculum as far as stocks, bonds, mutual funds, things like that.
Awesome. Okay. So you got your degree in this. And mostly in investing. You did all of these traditional investments, and then when you retired, you're like, I want to get a better return. I'm going to go into real estate. So how did that happen?
Okay, my first thought, to be honest, was I'm going to buy a single-family home and rent it out and make money from the rent.
Right.
I didn't really know how to start that, so I called a neighbor of mine, Chris McCullough. You know him?
Oh, that happens to be me.
So we invited him and his wonderful wife, Kim Steele McCullough, up because I knew you guys were into real estate somehow, but I wasn't really sure how. So I asked you about buy and hold like a single family residence, and Chris started to talk. And Drew, I know you can back me up on this. And when he starts to talk, information flows. Mm-hmm. So I was getting fed with a fire hose, and so I asked him to slow down. Let's do one piece at a time, Chris. And we started with a couple of manufactured homes, and I've been flipping homes for a while now.
Well, and you were my private money guy for a deal as well out in Texas, which was great. That was
there was that, but I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. I'm glad you handled it.
But it turns out I did, and that one was a nightmare. I mean, everything, literally, the day we're supposed to go on the market, somebody kicked in the door and vandalized the house, and it was supposed to be on the next day. But we still made a return, and that's what really matters. And not only that, but we were doing it, virtually, because we're here in San Diego, and we were flipping it, and that one was in Fort Worth, I think, right?
Fort Worth, Texas.
Fort Worth, Texas. So awesome. So you got into this by talking with me, but really it could have been through any avenue, and you realized, I think I got something here. So went retired. Now you're basically, I wouldn't say you're still retired, but you're still flipping a lot of houses.
Well, that's true. I already knew about self-directed IRAs. Mm-hmm. So when I talked to you about investing, you gave me a couple of tips on how to use those self-directed IRAs to set up my company. And that company is now working in flips. And I have another company that I use for cash partnerships with friends, family, et cetera.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so equity partners, things like that, joint ventures. And I definitely want to dig into that a little bit more, so we'll get to that. Mm-hmm. Drew.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about you. So if you guys didn't know, these two guys are great friends of mine. We get together and have dinner pretty often. But at the same time, since you don't know who they are, I want you to hear directly from their mouth how they kind of perceive these things. So Drew, you still have a full-time job.
Yes, sir.
And you flip houses.
I do.
You flip houses. You buy houses in cash. Yep. You take them in their as-is condition. Mm-hmm. You close on the day of their choosing, and you flip those houses.
That's correct.
So how did you get into real estate investing?
Well, funny that you ask. This guy that I know named Chris McCullough. I had my first home as a live-in flip with my wife. It was something that we chose to do back in 2008 when we purchased our first home.
Wow.
It was right when the market was back on its incline. Right. We ended up holding that property for about a year and a half, and we decided to list it. We did pretty well on that first property, and we realized that this was something that we wanted to get into. So over the course of time, I was trying to find my way through and get involved. And just so happens that my wife met you through a local business in Fallbrook, California.
I was at the gym.
Yeah,
I was at the gym working out with my trainer.
Absolutely.
And she comes up and she says, "Hi, my husband and I, we have some money and we don't know what to do with it, but we hear you're in real estate."
That's exactly how it happened.
As a matter of fact, I am, and I would love to help you out with your money.
There you go. And one dinner led to me being introduced to this fine gentleman next to me. And before you know it, got involved with the business just like that.
That's awesome, man. So you're actually flipping houses. You two partnered up. I know you used to have some other joint venture partners that you were working with for quite a while.
RKPI. That's Bob and Kim, good friends of mine and
really
yours as well.
People. Yep. I know I've done a few deals with them as well. And I know in future shows, we'll probably actually talk a little more in depth on the different types of investing. But let's see. I know with you, I've sold you a wholesale deal or two, I think, Derek.
True.
And, we'll get into that in other shows where we talk about, wholesaling or fix and flips or buy and holds. Or even if you're just going in and taking your money and investing it with somebody and letting them do all the work and you're getting a return, or even note investing. There's a ton of different ways that you can make money in this business. So let's get right into it. We got kind of a quick overview of who you guys are and what you do. But I want to get a little bit deeper on some of this stuff. Now, both of you right now, your primary focus in fix and flip properties?
Yes.
Derek, same thing?
Yes, that's true.
Okay, so you're mostly only doing fix and flip properties. And I think the big one is anybody that actually does fix and flips, it's all about getting the deal. You have to have a property in order to make a profit, right? So how do you guys find your properties? How do you get the property in order to make some money? And I think we'll just start with that.
All right. What I do, Chris, is I kind of troll the MLS. Well, really? I'm not an agent. I look on the websites that feed from MLS.
Right.
So I'll look for properties that need investor help, something that says needs TLC,
right,
or something that really looks bad. And I also look for houses that have been listed for quite some time, because the longer those are listed, the more motivated the seller is going to be.
Right, absolutely.
When I make an offer, it's going to be a lowball offer. I've had plenty of offers that have just been ignored.
I've heard that before, and I know because I'm a real estate agent as well, outside of being an investor, and I get people tell me all the time, don't send a lowball offer. I really don't view it as a lowball offer. I think when you do the math, and I'm hoping we could talk a little bit about, what your guys' math is on what creates a deal and how would you buy it. I don't view it as a lowball offer. We're in a business to make a profit. This is how I take care of my kids. I have a family, I have responsibilities, and I have bills like everybody. So to me, it's not a lowball offer. I think it's a matter of giving a fair offer where it's a benefit to you and it's a benefit to the seller, depending on their situation.
Well, sometimes, Chris, I'll start with a low offer simply to get the negotiation started.
Right, start a conversation.
See, my target price might be at C, but I'm going to offer B.
Right.
Because I want them to counter to D.
Right.
And then we'll eventually come near my C where I want to be.
Right.
Where I want that price to be. Like my son reminded me the other day, this is a buying game.
Right.
If I can buy it at a better price, I can make better money.
Well, you hear people say all the time.
Or I can sell it more quickly at a lower price.
That's true. And I think that's why everybody says, you don't really make money on the sale. You make money on the buy.
Correct.
And, purchasing the property at the right price is where you actually make a profit. And you never know what the market's going to do. I mean, we can always project and we can guess what the market will do, but we don't know for sure. So it's one of those things where you want to make sure you have enough cushion. It happened to us in Texas, the one that Derek and I were doing together. We start pulling up flooring. We have a crack slab. Now, luckily in Texas, it's a lot cheaper to fix a crack slab than it is here in California. Here in California, it's like $1,600 per pier. 10 to 12 piers, it starts eating into the budget. Out there, it's like $150 and a $20 permit. So it's a little bit different. But I think it's really the purchase of the property. So how do you find these? You troll on the MLS. Are there other options that you use?
My daughter-in-law is a real estate agent.
Oh, wonderful.
So she's also looking out for me, and she can get into more of the details on a property. So she'll find something that I might have missed or I might have skipped over because it didn't look right.
Right.
So she has a different way of looking at things, and she understands the investor too. She understands how investors think, so she knows what I'm looking for.
Okay. Well, hey, since everybody's listening, a lot of people are probably looking for stuff. What's her name? Where's she work?
Her name is Christine Levitt. She's at Exit Blue Water Realty in Canyon Lake.
Canyon
California.
Lake. Awesome. What about you, Drew? Now, I know you're doing a lot of joint venture stuff,
Yes.
and that's how you started, and you really have found a great niche there.
That's correct.
So people that don't know, a joint venture is basically where I'm an investor, and I want to partner with somebody else, whether I'm bringing in money, whether I'm bringing in a certain skill set, or wherever it might be. But that's basically what a joint venture is. You're actually partnering up with somebody, and you've joint ventured pretty much all of your deals right now, which I'm a huge believer of joint ventures.
Yes.
I really enjoy them myself. So are you relying on your partners to bring those deals to you, or are you going out and finding them yourself?
No, I'm actually relying on the partners. The partnership is really coming in on me and letting me know what they come across through, whether it's their wholesalers or their realtors, or even trolling the MLS, like Derek was saying.
Right.
For me, that's really where my main focus has been. It's been more of a phone call type thing for me, letting me know what's out there and what's available to us, and the invite. That's what I've been relying on.
Okay,
Yep.
well, we actually got to sit down and pay the bills here for a second, so we're going to cut out. And when we get back, we're going to dig in a little bit deeper and actually find out what some of this money stuff means. Thank you very much. This is the Average Joe Real Estate Investment Show. We'll see you in a few.
Ty-Court Title of San Diego is the next generation of title companies. They offer their clients the most complete real estate services in the nation. They have 4 convenient locations in the greater San Diego area to service all your residential and commercial transactions. Ty-Court Title of San Diego offers you title and escrow solutions. Whether you are buying, selling, or refinancing, they have you covered. With over a century of experience, you can count on Ty-Court Title of San Diego. They have a solid history of servicing customers with high integrity, white glove service, and value. They also have unrivaled financial strength to back your policies. For all your real estate transactions, call Ty-Court Title of San Diego today at 619-260-5200.
Alliance Escrow, the most reliable and hardworking escrow team in San Diego. Buying, selling, or refinancing a home can be a stressful event, and our friendly staff here at Alliance is ready to make your home buying or selling process as smooth as possible. We strive for outstanding customer service and are dedicated to giving top quality service in each and every sale. Alliance Escrow will provide a special discount to active and reserve service members and disabled or retired veterans as well. Whether it's residential, commercial, bulk business, or refinance, call us today and let us help you close your deal as seamlessly as possible. Call 619-609-0015 or go to AllianceEscrowInc.com today. That's 619-609-0015 or AllianceEscrowInc.com. Alliance Escrow, your partners in real estate.
AT&T presents the nation's strongest college football fan. He's the strongest of the strong, and his name is Ted.
It's pronounced Ted.
When Ted wants to keep up with everything that's going on in the world of college football, he uses the network with the strongest 4G LTE signal.
That's right. I just got an alert that Alabama's installing a new goal line defense, and my webcam shows that the Georgia Bulldog just saw a squirrel. Look out.
Get stronger. AT&T, the network with the nation's strongest 4G LTE signal.
Claim based only on average 4G LTE signal strength for national carriers.
Some gifts go out of style after one season.
Gee, thanks.
Others you'll use every season, like the Titleist Pro V1 and Pro V1X. Some gifts get returned.
Do you have your gift receipt?
While others you never leave the house without, like the Osito jacket from the North Face. Get the athletes in your life a gift that matters from Dick's Sporting Goods. Come to Dick's today for Black Friday savings, like 25% off selected Under Armour fleece styles. Every holiday season starts at Dick's.
From me to you.
Last year, 310,000 hectares of forest and jungle were lost, almost the equivalent of the state of Tlaxcala. At this rate, Mexico will be a desert very soon. The majority of these fires are provoked by abusive entrepreneurs that want to make more money illegally by means of agriculture or animal husbandry. The Green Party promoted an initiative so that burned forests and jungles can't be used for the next 20 years. At the Green Party, we'll keep working for a greener Mexico.
Almost 2 centuries ago, frigate captain Pedro Sainz de Veranda and his brave men secured the independence of Mexico at the San Juan de Ulúa fort. Today, the Mexican Army continues safeguarding the country's identity and values, keeping the stability and development for a peaceful Mexico. Celebrate them this November 23rd, the Day of the Mexican Army. Secretary of Army, Government of the Republic. The Senate of the Republic is the House of the Mexican citizens, where you have a voice, where everyone counts, where 128 senators work to approve the laws that help build democracy and make Mexico a better country. At the House of the Mexican Citizens, democracy is built with efficiency, austerity, and transparency. 63rd Legislature, Senate of the Republic.
All right, we are back. We are back. It's the Average Joe Real Estate Investment Show with me, your host, Chris McCullough. We're back here again with Drew and also Derek, and we want to dig a little bit deeper on some of the conversations we were already having. So, Drew, when we actually cut to the commercial break, you and I started talking a little bit about how you actually qualify a property. Mm-hmm. And I know you do a lot of joint ventures, so I would like to hear how this sorts out for you. So if you guys don't know, Drew is actually a money guy. He came in with money. He's been building his money. So he usually joins joint ventures as, I have capital, and this is how I'm going to be part of this team. So when somebody brings you a deal and says, Drew, I want to joint venture with you, are you willing to invest in this property for a return? How do you decide if that's a deal or not a deal for you?
Well, the math never lies. That's the best way to put it.
That's the truth.
Common misconception in this business is that, it takes money to flip. Well, we can go into this in detail knowing that we don't necessarily need to utilize our own money to build off of that. But,
right.
Let's say somebody comes in, they buy a house for $100,000. You spend $20,000 on a renovation. You sell it for $150,000. You earn $30,000 in profits. Well, you're not doing your math correctly. You got to factor in the cost of borrowed money. You have to factor in the costs to sell the house. You have to factor in the taxes depending on what type of year it is, all those holding costs in general.
Right. Real estate agent?
Exactly. Your real estate agent, the percentages, the split percentages, the insurance, everything, all those hidden costs that most of your average Joes wouldn't necessarily know unless they've done this before.
Absolutely.
So for me, it's really important to know if those numbers line up. And if there's still a chance after all of that to pull some type of profit, then hey, why not?
Yeah, let's get in it.
That's
okay,
it.
Awesome. Now, Derek, you're actually a little bit different. Drew actually does a lot of joint ventures. He comes in with a lot of money. You actually come in with your own money, and you are usually kind of heading up the projects yourself.
That's true. Part of my working past was as program manager or project manager in a number of different areas. I also managed a team in a logistics department, so that gave me kind of a management perspective.
Right.
So when I get a crew working on a house, I can manage the project. And I look at it as a project management job, where we have a budget and a schedule and I keep track of all these other things. I don't have the skills to do it myself.
Right.
So I have to use other people. I mean, I can do it, but it would look horrible and I would never be able to sell it. So I depend on other people to do this. Now, fortunately, we're doing some flips out in Blythe, and I have a really good crew of craftsmen out there that are trustworthy and are honest with me.
Right.
That's really the key for me is be honest with me.
I was going to wait to talk about this, but I mean, we're already kind of in the topic, and I'm always curious about this. I know how I do it, especially if you're, I like to flip in other states. How do you find, or how have you found your contractors, the people that you're subbing out to? And there is a ton of trust. You actually have to build a team if you can't physically be there all the time. So how do you find your contractors?
The guy we're working with in Blythe now, we found at the hardware store.
Really?
He's a painter by trade, but he's also a renovator. Mm-hmm. So my son found him, said, "Oh, you're a painter? We need some work done on a house we're flipping over here," because my son and I did the first flip ourselves.
Right.
So we talked to him a number of times, and turns out he wanted to get into real estate investment as well.
So did you bring him in as a JV partner?
Well, not yet. So we said, okay, this is what we need done on this house.
Right.
He says, okay, I'll be here on Friday morning to start that.
Right.
So I said to my son, Chris, I said, we don't really know this guy, so we'll see how, does he show up on time? Does he do what he says he's going to do? And he did.
Right.
So then we started working with him more closely, and he's done the last couple of flips for me out there.
Oh, that's awesome. And, since I just brought it up, bringing him on as a joint venture partner, I know for me, whenever I run into a contractor, the guy that I use out in Texas, he is actually a contractor that I sort of brought on originally to manage our projects. And now I brought him on a little more. And I know Drew just did this recently as well, where how about you come in, you do the work? Because it's all about adding value when it comes to a joint venture partnership or a JV partnership. Excuse me. So it's one of those things where, okay, this guy has a skill set that I apparently don't have. How do I bring him in and give him a portion of the profits as an equity partner or something else, some way to where he can add value. And I know I have another friend of mine, Laura Bell. She actually has a contractor that came on. He had some of his own money, and they're partnering that way. He does all the work with his crews. So what about you, Drew? I know you more or less did the same thing.
That's exactly what we did. I partnered up with a team of contractors, which are phenomenal. They were great. Bob and Kim, or PKI. They were able to come in with not only hard money funding for the homes and purchasing the homes through hard money lenders, but they were actually doing the work themselves with their skilled team.
Oh, wonderful.
So it really helped a lot. It cut down on the costs of everything. I mean, we still had to pay for labor and things like that, but it really helped with timelines, because these were guys that Bob necessarily had worked with for so long, over the course of 10, 12 years.
Wow.
He knew these guys and he knew the timelines that they could stick to. So that really helped us out a lot. We didn't have to worry about going outside and trying to find somebody that we trusted, because the trust was already built in with the relationship.
Right. And I know some guys, they almost hide who their contractors are because they don't want their contractors to be working. There's certain things, you don't always tell who your hard money lender is, right? You don't always tell who your lawyer is, and you don't always tell who your contractor is. It's just one of those things. I'm hoping to actually bring on some contractors here in the future and hard money lenders that I know and trust, that I actually use, and private money lenders, so we can get in depth on those topics. And I don't want to get too in deep here, but I think it's important that we know how to find those people, because you're not always going to find them from other investors. And I know for myself, I found a lot of these guys by going to real estate investment club meetings. There's a great one in North County. There's one down at Del Mar, the Phoebe down there with Kukin and Clark, wonderful guys. I think I'm going to have them on the show in the future. So there's a lot of different ways that you could do this. Derek, I already asked Drew. I want to ask you, when you look at a deal or somebody, let's say somebody's looking to sell their house, it could be a distressed situation or not, whether it's a divorce or maybe that, they're just older and sometimes age could be a distress in itself. Or it could be a wholesaler. It could be a real estate agent. When somebody brings you a deal, how do you analyze it to say, this is a deal for me? This is what I'm kind of looking at. So more or less, what would your math be to say, I'm going to buy this house, I'm going to try to make a profit?
I would start with the after renovation value. And I rely on realtors a lot for that, especially my daughter-in-law.
Right.
Because I need to know what I can sell it for before I know what I can buy it for.
Right.
I can ballpark the cost of a renovation. I can do a kitchen for $10K. I can do a bathroom for $4K. I can do that. But I need to know that there is enough room in there for me to do those renovations, to have some surprises.
Right.
Like that.
Always.
Like that foundation.
There's always a surprise.
The buffer is big.
Right. Yeah, it has to be. So I need to know that I can get that kind of money. I also need to know how long it's going to take to sell that house. Time on market is critical, especially if you're using hard money, because those loan payments add up, brother. You know what I'm saying.
Yes, they do. Every month you got to pay.
So that's maybe more important to me is the time.
Right.
How long is this going to sit there before I can get my money back? I looked at a cash-to-cash kind of cycle. I'm going to put my cash in. When can I get it out?
So, so when you purchase stuff, are you a cash-on-cash return kind of guy? Or I know in San Diego, it's kind of a tough market to do that, which I know is you are flipping in different areas where a lot of people aren't. And you mentioned one of them.
Yeah.
But, I mean, do you mostly focus on the cash-on-cash return, or are you just looking at the potential profit from ARV or the after repair value to the purchase price?
I look mostly at the percentage return.
Okay.
I look at it like an investment. If you're in the stock market and you want to make 8% per year, or you have an annuity that's going to pay you 7% per year, that's the rate of return.
Right.
So when I look at a flip, I look at how much it's going to cost, how much I'm going to make, and how long it's going to take to determine what that rate of return is.
Right, absolutely. Okay, awesome. And, and I think that's really important. And I know some people, I've been reading a lot of blogs. I actually have a friend of mine who did a post on Bigger Pockets, and he talked about the myth, the 70% myth. So for those of you out there listening, there's this perfect unicorn math that's out there. Well, and everybody's kind of giggling in here because in San Diego, it's kind of tough to find. It's basically the home run deal. It's the deal that everybody wants. And really, it's anywhere from, and I'll tell you how I actually look to buy my properties after I say this, but people are looking to buy their properties anywhere from 65 to 70% of ARV. So what that means is that there's about 20-25% of equity into the home. That's less repair as well. So if you're buying a house, let's say it's a $100,000 house after repair value, you want to purchase the house at $65,000 or $70,000 less repair. So if there's $5,000 worth of repair, now we're talking about $60,000 to $65,000 is where you really want to purchase the home. Now, a lot of people that I've listened to, that I've talked to, they say, you know what, that math is dead. It doesn't exist. You can't do that. Now, me personally, I actually don't buy it based off of ARV. When I go out and I actually go out and find, I market to find off-market deals. I'm actually going after these properties to buy them in their as-is condition. And I learned that from Michael Quarles. I worked with him for quite a while. And I'm looking to buy them at 65 to 70% in their as-is condition, not from ARV. Because the reality is, depending on the situation, I'm coming in, I'm paying cash. I'm going to take it and close on the day of their choosing. I'm basically going to take it with no inspections. And that's how most of us kind of do this thing. So how do you guys feel about the myth? Do you agree that it's a myth, or are you kind of, saying, we're willing to go to 80% of ARV?
It's not really a myth. The math does work, but the math has to be scalable. You have to be able to move the math. And I'm not sure if I'm explaining this well enough, but the 70% rule might be a 60% rule if there's a higher risk. If it's an older home, if it's built in 1947, I'm not going to pay 70% of as-is or ARV. I'm going to pay 55% because I don't know what's in that house.
What's inside of it.
If it's a newer house, if it was built in 2005, then there's going to be fewer surprises.
Or even a lipstick job. I mean, you have some jobs where it's like it needs paint, baseboards, a little bit of work. And
just
you get in there. We just did one with J&B out in Oceanside, and that's really what it was. And, I know we put it out to the seller. He said, look, if you listed this property, we could sell it for $350,000. He says, I absolutely don't want to list it. I want to be moved in 10 days. Can you close in 10 days? I says, yes, but we can't give you any more than, $275,000, because really where it was, that's where we need to be. And it was a short term. And he says, I want the cash. And it was lipstick job. We J&B did it. We ended up listing it for him, sold it in like less than
an hour. You sold it in an hour,
Chris. It was about an hour. It went pretty fast.
Kudos to you guys too, because that house was beautiful.
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, it really was.
Great looking house. But I think, what also people don't take into account is the market. If you have a $100,000 house, it's very different than a $500,000 house and the amount of return that you can get from that, or $1 million house. I have a lot of friends that do nothing but luxury properties. So granted, you could be buying at 80%, but if there's a net return of $100,000 to $200,000, maybe you adjust.
Yeah, I can see that.
Maybe you adjust a little bit. And I know some guys do that. So what would be your magic number? If somebody said, I want to sell to these guys, what would be your magic number if they were looking for you, wanted to find you and sell you a home?
That's going to depend. Truly, I think the magic number for us right now, it's going to depend on the area. Where are we speaking of? What's the average price and listing price right now around that area?
Well, okay, so what are great areas right now? What areas are you guys in?
Well, Chris, rather than area, Drew, if I may, it's a level of risk. When it's a hot market, let's say in Marietta, for instance, a hot market like that, okay, I'll pay more in Marietta in a hot market.
And up in Marietta and Temecula, once you list it, if it's shows well,
it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. So I'll pay more there.
Right.
So it gets back to the time and the cash to cash cycle.
Right.
For me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's the same way. It's always going to be depending upon how quick we can turn it, how quick it's going to sit on the market, and what the average time on market is going to be. We need to make sure that we stay on top of our investment and stick to the timelines. I think
so.
That's
Do
the
you
biggest
believe you kind of gain that through experience?
Even a hot market is going to have risky houses in it.
Right.
So I don't want to buy anything sight unseen.
Right. And this is probably why whenever I kind of hear the myth, quote unquote, it's really coming from seasoned investors that kind of get it, because in my opinion, it really does depend. Every deal is, you would love to have the unicorn deal, but every deal kind of just, it depends on what your experience level, how you do your rehabs, your expectations on quality of work, because people do different qualities. I've seen some horrible qualities. I've seen some over the top qualities, and sometimes people overbuild.
Yeah. I've done that.
I've done it too, actually. I thought, we're definitely going to get our money here, and I probably should have done a little more research. But that was younger in my investing career, for sure. So I think it's just one of those things when it comes to the myth, that it's going to take a little bit of experience. But for let's say for a new guy, somebody that's just getting into this, how would you even recommend that they analyze a deal or get started?
Trust. Build trust with your partnership, or get into it and do your research. The biggest thing for me is really looking at a property, using your ballpark figures and what you feel is the best deal. It's hard for me to go into detail on that in such a short amount of time.
Right.
The biggest thing for me is always going to be based on, the price of the house, what the asking is, what offer we come in at, and what's accepted. After that, rolling in a budget and sticking to it.
Absolutely. What about you, Derek?
I would agree with Drew on that one. It's really what you buy it for, what it's going to cost, how long it's going to take.
I think, if I were to chime in just a little bit, this is what I would recommend to somebody that's new, that's trying to maybe analyze their first deal, or maybe even their first, really it's the first 3 deals. So you're kind of, trying to figure it all out. If you're not inside one of the local real estate investment clubs, if you're not online, there's some great places online where you can really bounce a lot of these questions off of seasoned investors. But it comes down to networking. I'm a firm believer that network is net worth. The more people I meet, the more I communicate with, the broader my knowledge gets, and I can also joint venture with other people and gain that experience. I mean, you can't expect a doctor, a surgeon to walk in and say, I'm going to start cutting on you just because I went to school. These guys do internships. They do all these other things, 12 years. They're working through that business to actually become proficient and good. And to think somebody would say, I have no money, I'm just going to start flipping homes. That's dangerous in my opinion. I think somebody should joint venture. You want to learn how to analyze a deal? Sit down with people that are doing deals and analyze a deal. I think it's good to do some reading on it, but that can't be enough, in my opinion. So with that said, we got to actually get another commercial in, pay the bills here again. When we get back, we're going to talk a little more in depth and look to button this thing up, because if you guys didn't know, basketball is on today on ESPN. So Drew, Derek, they're still here. This is the Average Joe Real Estate Investment Show. See you in a minute.
Alliance Escrow, the most reliable and hardworking escrow team in San Diego. Buying, selling, or refinancing a home can be a stressful event, and our friendly staff here at Alliance is ready to make your home buying or selling process as smooth as possible. We strive for outstanding customer service and are dedicated to giving top quality service in each and every sale. Alliance Escrow will provide a special discount to active and reserve service members and disabled or retired veterans as well. Whether it's residential, commercial, bulk business, or refinance, call us today and let us help you close your deal as seamlessly as possible. Call 619-609-0015 or go to AllianceEscrowInc.com today. That's 619-609-0015 or AllianceEscrowInc.com. Alliance Escrow, your partners in real estate.
Tycor Title of San Diego is the next generation of title companies. They offer their clients the most complete real estate services in the nation. They have 4 convenient locations in the greater San Diego area to service all your residential and commercial transactions. Tycor Title of San Diego offers you title and escrow solutions. Whether you are buying, selling, or refinancing, they have you covered. With over a century of experience, you can count on Tycor Title of San Diego. They have a solid history of servicing customers with high integrity, white glove service, and value. They also have unrivaled financial strength to back your policies. For all your real estate transactions, call Tycor Title of San Diego today at 619-260-5200.
B-Dubs presents B-Dubbing.
All right. They're up by 21, but now's not the time to quit. Now's the time to
buy a holiday gift card at Buffalo Wild Wings.
They think they've beaten us, but yard by yard, we're going to
purchase gift cards totaling $25 or more.
And we will
get a blazing bonus worth up to $100.
Who's with me? Now let's go to
Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.
No purchase necessary. U.S. residents 18 plus for a limited time while supplies last. Limit 4. Void or prohibited. See participating location or buffalowildwings.com for details.
This is John Feinstein with a CBS Sports Minute. Carolina Panthers coach Ron Rivera thinks his team is being disrespected in Las Vegas because it's a 2-point underdog in Dallas on Thursday. Why was he even asked the question? Is that what we've come to in the media? Asking coaches to comment on point spreads? Seriously? The Panthers are 10-0. The Cowboys are 3-0 when Tony Romo starts at quarterback. The game's in Dallas, so it probably isn't unfair to think it will be competitive. Maybe Rivera will use the point spread as a motivator for his team. Coaches will use just about any perceived slight to fire up their players. Of course, what they and the media often forget is that all the emotion wears off about 5 minutes after kickoff, and the game is decided by who makes plays, not who jumps up and down the most in pregame. I'm John Feinstein.
Happy Honda Days is here. When I think about getting a great deal on a Honda, I'm all,
hey, is it morning yet? Everybody up to the dealer! Let's go! Go, 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 go!
Then I heard every 2016 model comes with a standard rear view camera and was all like,
no way! That's crazy cakes.
Joyous deals for every side of you. Hurry into the Happy Honda Day sales event now. Well-qualified buyers can get 0.9% APR on the 2016 Accord at your Honda dealer.
See dealer for financing details.
They're out there. Gunk, corrosion, and wear relentlessly preying on engines. But new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline provides unbeatable protection from gunk and corrosion and superior protection against wear for the best total engine protection you can get. Stay ahead of engine threats with new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline today.
We're back. It's the Average Joe Real Estate Investment Show. I'm your host, Chris McCullough, and I'm back here with Derek Levitt and Drew Henson. We were actually just talking here, and he's sitting over there smiling. We were just talking during the break, and I think one of the big ones that we didn't touch, which I think is real important because myself, I'm a real estate agent. I work with a lot of investors, and we list a lot of homes for investors, and I think it's important that you have to find a real estate agent. And it's, using somebody up front to analyze your deals and making sure that you have the right math, A, and B, on the back end, somebody that you can use to list your home because you got to get it sold. So you want to work with somebody that's not going to break the bank, but at the same time, they can perform and actually get your home sold so you aren't stuck sitting on it. Mm-hmm. So tell me, guys, how do you find a real estate agent?
I'm going to be honest with you. I think the number one thing is finding a full-time realtor, not somebody who does it as a side gig. I think when you're involved with this business, the person needs to know the landscape of the area where you're working. Right. It's important to know the neighborhood, the school districts, what type of loans, again, are being utilized in that area. It helps you really stick to your budget. Reasonable commissions. You always want to find a realtor with a reasonable commission. I think around here, the going rate's about 4 to 7%, which is reasonable anywhere. And marketing. Marketing
is everything.
Marketing is the plus. You got to find a realtor ready to market the property before it's listed. For us as flippers, we want people in the door while it's being built, because if they're interested in it, they can come in and put the final touches on it if it's something that they truly want.
And I know that's something that we do. We do it really in depth, and that's why we usually have a line of people waiting for the day that it hits the MLS. We're already rolling them into that property. They're looking at the final touches and making offers usually the same day. We do a ton of marketing through the renovation process just for that. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that what you consider fair is anywhere from 4 to 7%. Correct. I know, I kind of view, when it comes to percentages, and I know some real estate agents out there are going to hate me for saying this, but I believe it's true. At 4%, I view 4% agents as kind of the Walmart, and there are some really wonderful agents out there that do it at 4%, but the reality is they're not always going to be being able to give the high end, real deep attention, because it's a business game. For me as well as a real estate agent, if I know I have to invest a certain amount of money into a property, and I have to get a certain return on your property because I'm paying out of my pocket to market a property, I'm expecting a certain return. So I know a lot of real estate investors are looking for somebody at 4 or 5%, and then they get frustrated when their property isn't marketed the way you would expect from a 6% agent. Like Nordstrom's of the business.
You get what you pay for.
Right. And I think there's just a fine line. So what were we going to say, Derek?
So what I look for is an agent, or what I would look for if I were just starting out, an agent that is experienced in the investor world.
Yes.
My daughter-in-law, Christine Levitt, ex-at Blue Water Realty, started on the investor side and transitioned into the retail side. Right. So she knows what I'm looking for. And regarding the commissions, if that realtor brings the value, then they are certainly worth that 6%, 7%.
Absolutely.
If I have a realtor that doesn't bring the value, it's going to cost me more money, even though the commissions are lower.
Well, would you consider like a sliding scale? I know we do negotiate that as well, where, if we bring you X amount of dollars up and above of this particular price, you're going to, pay us a little more.
Well, it's the same as if we bring a buyer to the table.
Right.
We expect to pay a little less on the point scale going into the deal.
Right. So I think that's pretty fair as
I think we just made a deal here between Drew and Chris. That's it.
Shake on it.
Absolutely. Now, if you guys didn't know, we are getting ready to roll into basketball here on ESPN. So I want to make sure we kind of start buttoning this up. And if you don't know, we're going to be doing another interview, but it's actually going to be posted online. And you can find me on Facebook at Kris. That's Kris with a K, McCullough, MCCULLOUGH. You can find me on Facebook. Add me. I have a business page and my personal page. And I'm actually going to be posting up. We're going to do a second interview with these guys where it's just us sort of sitting down talking and getting a lot more in depth with big crayons and all sorts of fun stuff that you can't see on the radio. But I kind of want to kick right into what I consider the three truths. The big one with this radio show is we want to talk about the truth of real estate investing. And I think the more experience that you get, your truths adjust a little bit. But it's really, what are your three truths now with your present experience based off of what you've learned since you started? So, Derek, what are your three truths in real estate?
Well, number one, it takes work. Don't think you can send out a bunch of yellow letters and wait for the money to roll in. It ain't going to happen. You need to find homes. You need to find contractors. You need to find realtors. You need to find lenders. You need to do all of that work. You need to build a team. And then you need to get the work done, to get the house done, to get it listed. Number two, it takes cash. Even if you're using hard money, you're still going to have to come out of pocket. Most lenders will lend 60 to 70% on the purchase. And then you have a renovation to do, so that's going to be another 30 or 40,000.
So you probably have to get somebody on the second.
So you're going to need somebody on the second, or you're going to need your uncle that has a ton of money, that has a little extra. Whatever it is, it's going to take some cash. So be ready for that. Truth number three, it's very satisfying to finish a home and know that a family is going to move in.
Right. Absolutely.
Somebody's going to have Thanksgiving in there. Somebody's going to have babies, whatever. Make babies, maybe. I don't know if they'll have them in there. But it's very satisfying to know you've done that for a house, for a neighborhood.
Right. Yeah, and absolutely, because it raises the values. Awesome. Drew, what are your three truths?
Extremely similar. I will say, number one, this business will definitely test your patience. There's no doubt in my mind coming into this, everything will test your patience. Two, the risk is based on your production and your follow through. If you have a timeline, stick to it. And the third, know the market before you dive into a deal.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Hey, I want to thank both of you for coming in today. We're getting ready to button up. And I think the very last question I have is, if somebody's looking to sell their home, or if a real estate agent wants to find you or a wholesaler, how do they find you guys?
Well, you can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Hendon & Sons, or you can email me at hendoninvestments@gmail.com.
Derek?
You can find me, email's the best, Derek, DEREK, at peppertreerei.com.
Awesome. And if any of you out there in the listening audience would like to touch with me, get me on Facebook, Kris with a K, McCullough, MCCULLOUGH. Or you can actually send me an email if you have questions for future shows. It's Kris with a K at murphy-realty.com. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening in. This is the Average Joe Real Estate Investment Show. We're hoping to do this pretty often, and you can also find us online. We're going to be doing a lot of different video and webinars with different people that are all over the nation that are in different facets of this business. And just keep in mind, real estate investing, it's something that may seem like it's really hard to get into, but it's just a matter of gaining some of the experience. Go check out your local investment clubs. Jump online, jump on Bigger Pockets. There's some amazing websites. There's some great podcasts that you can be listening to. And I would say, get as much exposure as possible. Get as much exposure as possible. Educate yourselves. Educate to dominate. Jay Massey said that. I just saw him recently, and that's the truth. You got to educate in order to dominate. Real estate investing is a great opportunity. You can do it full time. You can do it part time. It's just really up to you and how far you actually want to take this thing. And thank you again. I appreciate it. Drew, Derek, you're the best. Have a great one, folks.
Thanks for having us, Kris.
Have a great one, and we'll see you then.